Oh, Arto? Where are you? Arto? Arto? Huh? Arto, you're on fire! R2-D2, you found a cigarette. Well, I don't think smoking is grown up at all. Because it's very dangerous. Smoking does dreadful things to your lungs and is very bad for your heart. Oh, well, I know I don't have one, but humans do.
Digital gramophone makes no sense.
Hey guys, gonna do another just kind of quick vinyl recent pickups video. A couple that go back that I forgot to mention in my last video. So these are all albums that I've picked up basically since the pandemic was declared. So all of these were online orders. I've gotten some curbside albums from Lunchbox, picked those up, but I've already talked about those. So the two that I forgot to talk about in my last video, first one is Everybody Needs Love by Gladys Knight and the Pips. I'm a big R&B, 60s R&B fan, and this is one album that I've always thought never really got its due. And a lot of 60s R&B artists, their albums weren't true masterpieces. There are very few from that era, in my opinion, that are true masterpieces. And R&B was still very much a singles-oriented genre. But in '67, there were several top-line albums, full albums, and this is one of them. This, of course, includes the title track, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, their version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine, which is my favorite version of that song. Take Me in Your Arms and Love Me. I just, from top to bottom, this is just a solid listen. Another one that I picked up, this is one of my favorite all-time albums by one of my favorite musical artists ever. And I've had this on CD for years. And I bought the reissue, but I've been looking for a copy of Sam Cooke live from Harlem Square Club from 1963. It was recorded in 1963, but it wasn't released until 1985. The difference between this and the reissue, which sounds amazing and is worth picking up, is that this has the full version of Bring It On Home to Me. There's a shortened version on the reissued vinyl. And to me, it's the full version is what makes this album. It's a seminal live recording. It was even used and featured or recreated at the beginning of Michael Mann's Ali biopic. Yeah, it's just, everybody knows how great that song is. But this is my favorite live album of all time. It's a top 10 album for me, personally. I just, most everybody knows this. So the next three albums I bought all from the same seller. I was looking for one of them specifically online, and I came across the seller who had it for a good price, and so I jumped on it, And whenever I buy from Discogs, I always try to buy 2 or 3 albums to cut down on the shipping and make it worth my while. Well, this seller just had some great stuff, and everything was marked, you know, make an offer. So this was the album that I was looking for. This is Gasa, Gasa Original. This is their second album from 1978. And I'm still a little confused about if it's a proper album or if it's really a compilation. There's not a lot of information on this band. All of them died. I think most of them in a car crash and a car accident. So there's not a lot of information on them. It's a Nigerian group. And even though I would say it's probably classified under Afrobeat, it's more just kind of Afro soul to me. This album is incredible musically. It's funky, but vocally is almost where this album stands out the most to me, or what kind of differentiates it from a lot of other recordings I've heard from this period, from that country. But yeah, they had another recording or a collection of singles and stuff that were recorded in the mid-70s. And this was like the last thing they ever put out. This is on a French label, Hot Gasa. Yeah, great pressing. Want to look for more of what that label has to offer. Yeah, this is stellar. Bought it sealed from this particular seller. Okay, so the next one that I found from that seller, and I had been kind of eyeing this one from other articles that I had read on Zamrock and things associated with Zamrock. This isn't Zamrock, but it does have its psychedelic influences. This was a Nigerian group. It's called Survival. The album is Simmer Down. And it's a group of teenagers that were all studying at the same school. These guys have some ties to Ofigi. Or Ofigi, I'm sorry, Ofigi, I think is how you pronounce it. Yeah, it's a really interesting mix of rock and kind of Afrobeat. And there's a real psych influence in a lot of the music on here. So it even goes at times into psych pop with some female vocals that are a bit kitschy, but the lyrics are interesting on that particular track. I might just, if I can play a sample of it, I might play a sample of that one, even though it's not one of my favorite tracks on the album.
I know what I feel. I can't express it in words. It's just not possible. My parents, if they even cared, would call it emotions I can't control. You'd probably call it a crush, even though it's more than that, much more. But I guess it doesn't matter what you call it. It's always the same.
you can pick up affordable copies of it. Strawberry Rain does have some of the same issues that Now Again does with some of their presses. But this one turned out to be okay. The spindle hole, there were some spindle hole issues, but it wasn't warped. And, you know, sound quality is a whole nother thing when you're talking about these albums, these rare albums that are repressed. It's not really how you judge them, in my opinion. So the last one that I found from that seller, I was just going through, and he had several albums by this artist, and I don't have anything by him as a leader, and I've been wanting to get into his work, so I jumped on this one. It's a 70s press of Don Cherry's Complete Communion, and this is mind-blowing. I need more of this. And after I ordered it and got it in and I listened to it, I immediately messaged Dave, and I'll probably be reaching out to some of you other folks in the VC, or you could just leave your suggestions in the comments. This is amazing, and soulful, at times experimental, but still also just very, very solid jazz. The solos are very free, but not the entire compositions. The compositions have structure, but there's some free-ish solos going on in this. The lineup is Don Cherry on cornet, Gato Barbieri on tenor sax, Henry Grimes on bass, and Edward Blackwell on drums. And so Dave already made some recommendations of places to go next. Really happy that I just kind of went for it with this one and picked it up. Great price, sounds fantastic, really good press. I got all three of those albums after shipping. It was $55, so that was a pretty good deal. Really, really happy with those. So a couple of other things that I've done, because I haven't gone to record stores as much, and also because there have been some really good albums from 2020, but I haven't been blown away by a lot of things. So I haven't bought as many releases that came out this year as I normally do. So because of that, I kind of decided to go back and fill some gaps or some albums that I'm very familiar with, but I've always just wanted like a copy on vinyl. This one I actually never had a physical copy of, even though I'm extremely familiar with it because I streamed it a ton the year it came out. And it's Sufjan Stevens, All Delighted People, his EP from 2010. He put this out on Bandcamp, and I announced the release of it through Bandcamp, and I bought it digitally immediately. He had another album that came out that year that kind of overshadowed this one a bit, and this is just a fantastic collection of music. There's two versions of the title track. One that's called All Delighted People Original Version and All Delighted People Classic Rock Version. This is the very maximalist Sufjan Stevens that everybody knows, large arrangements. There's a couple of songs that are a little bit quieter and more subdued, but there's still just a ton going on this album. And, it doesn't have a theme like a lot of his other albums. And it doesn't, well, at least not a very straightforward theme. And it also is kind of a hodgepodge of styles throughout. So I think that's why it's why he calls it an EP, even though it's a full album's length worth of music, and it's 8 tracks. It's a lot of music for an EP, but I think the mentality behind it is what makes it an EP. Fantastic. Always wanted a physical copy. Finally picked that up. Those of you in the vinyl community that hate CDs can stop watching now. And my brethren in the CD community can keep watching. I've been kind of falling in love with CDs again. And I've been without a CD player for my stereo for years. Well over a decade. Probably 15 years for sure without a CD player. And I still have a ton of CDs, even though I've traded in a bunch over the last few years. And I decided that I would look for a used one and picked one up on eBay, and decided to kind of buy some of the music that I've wanted, that I've been talking about, that I've been listening to for years, but I didn't have a physical copy of it. Decided to pick some of that up on CD. I'm a big fan of Fortet, and the only CD that I've ever had by him was Pause, even though I'm very familiar with all 4 of these albums. I just decided that I wanted a physical copy of each, so I picked up Rounds, Everything Ecstatic. There's Lovin' You, which is my personal favorite. Beautiful Rewind. And I'll probably be picking up more CDs, and maybe even discussing more. Yeah, I don't, it's not that I ever really shunned them. I just like I said, I just never had a CD player other than what was in my car. And I have CDs that I keep in my car. But since we've been in the house so much lately, I've been getting a lot of mileage out of my stereo and decided I should pick up a CD player to go with it. So yeah, hope everybody's doing well. World is crazy. But you can only do what you can do, right? And you can do more than you probably realize. But I won't get into that. So just be good to everybody, okay? Hope everybody's doing well. We'll talk to you later. All right, bye.